Okay, good luck, everybody. We're going to start Mah Nishtanah tonight. As a way of introduction, we're going to quote what we quoted earlier. That's written by Rochaim Soloveitchik in the stencils and the Emek Bracha. That there are three differences in the way we tell over Yetzias Mitzrayim on the night of Seder versus the mitzvah that we do every day of Yetzias Mitzrayim in Shema. All of those three are included in the mitzvah of Haggadah Levincha. Then in order to fulfill this unique mitzvah on the night of Seder, you have to do three unique things that we don't do the rest of the year. Number one is the story has to be in way of question and answer. Like it says in the pasuk, in Shemois Perek Yud Gimel, pasuk Yud Dalet, and Devarim Perek Vav, pasuk Chaf, Ki Yishalcha Bincha, when your son will ask. And this part of Haggadah Levincha is essentially fulfilled by the questions of the children in the Mah Nishtanah. The other two differences of Haggadah Levincha versus Zeichel Yetzias Mitzrayim every day, we're going to continue to speak out in future videos as we're going through the Seder Haggadah. Now, Rav Tzadok Kohen in the Sefer Pri Tzadik, he makes an observation. There's one other place in the Haggadah which is written in question and answer, and this is in Rabbi Gamliel HaYomer when he discusses why we eat matzah. He starts off with a question. He says, "Matzah zu she'anu eichlim al shum ma." Why are we eating matzah? And then he answers his own question, because we didn't have time for the dough to rise, etc. Now, there's a sefer written on Taryag Mitzvahs called Derech Pekudenu from Rav Tzvi Elimelech Shapiro of Dinov, and he explains that the reason why questions and answers is such a fundamental part of Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim is because through a question and answer, it arouses a person's more to know the answer. His nefesh is nispaeles ve'ashkacha amavukosh, which means that when a person asks a question, when he receives the answer, his nefesh is more inspired from achieving the answer, in contrast if he would have just heard the answer dryly. And through this, the story will be set strongly and deeply into the heart of the nefesh of the listeners. Like the Shulchan Aruch Harav speaks out in Taf Ayin Gimel Sif Yud Daled, that the entire way we say Haggadah, the mitzvah really is to say it in a way of an answer on questions we ask. Like it says in Devarim, Ki Sha'alcha Bincha, and then Vermarta Levincha Avodah Mayinu. And you start to say Avodah Mayinu, the entire Sipur has to be a way of an answer, again, based on what we just explained, because in this way, a person is nispal, is inspired, and has an impression on him. Is more of an impression on him. Now, in light of everything that we just explained, the questions and the essence of the questions have to be clearly explained to the family and the children. And the answers to these questions also have to be explained, how they are a response to the questions that they ask. So we should be elaborating, as much as possible. The general idea behind all the questions in Mah Nishtanah are questions that, why are we acting the way that we contradict ourselves on this night? Matzah and Maror seem to remind us of Shibud, and Haseba and Tibul dipping seem to remind us of becoming free. And the general answer that we're going to be answering in Avodah Mayinu is that remembering Shibud is remembering our state that we had in Mitzrayim, and remembering Cheres is remembering what happened when we were redeemed from Mitzrayim. We need ourselves to relive the experience of going from Avdus to Cheres on this night. And that is the main theme of the whole thing, is to feel like we actually ourselves were taken out of Mitzrayim. And therefore we must discuss both of these inyanim, these matters, the Shibud and Cheres, in order for ourselves to experience the transition from one to the next. Now, since at this point in the Seder, still early on, it's the beginning of the night, and everybody's still awake hopefully and listening, is very much an opportunity to give over a large amount of the messages at this time during the Seder. Again, stressing that everybody, there was a time that we were avodim, and we were in a situation where we could not properly serve Hashem, we could not fulfill the mitzvahs, and then we were given something very, very precious. We were given Chag Pesach, we were given a precious mitzvahs, and we were given the opportunity to serve Hashem and to earn schar for doing so, for everything that we do. According to the Ritva and other Rishonim, Avodah Mayinu is the fulfillment and the answer to the questions of all the children. It is highly recommended that as we're starting with Haggadah meaning, we speak out at great length, different like pictures, to make it tangible and something that can relate to the imagination of the children about the difficulty of Sheba that was in Mitzrayim. Because specifically, Baruch Hashem, today, even though we're still in Gullus, we live in relative tranquility. It is a message that we need to give to our children to try to help them feel what it was like to that we had a shibud and we had the stress. It's hard for them to relate to this emotional feeling of shibud, and therefore, before we begin to discuss geula, redemption, and being Messiah Mishvach, we are obligated to put in as much effort as we can to prepare everybody to really feel the difficulty that we experience in Mitzrayim of that shibud. So, as much as we can do, make it as tangible as possible. Provide ideas. Every person has their own personal stories that could help someone relate to who someone was in a situation where they were unable to fill mitzvahs properly, and then through the fact that they became free, which would be the geula, they had a great simcha that developed in their life from the ability to be able to serve Hashem properly. In conclusion, even though the questions of Mah Nishtanah are not phrased in a way that we are highlighting the fact that the contradiction between Cheres and Shibud, we're asking how come on this night we eat only matzah, which represents shibud, and how come we eat only maror? How come we dip twice, and how come we eat them in haseba? But as we explain the questions to the children, setting up the foundation of the answer of Adam Meinu, and in the continuation, we would strongly stress at this point of the contradiction between our actions of being free and our actions of being slaves, and how we eventually went out. And we need to ourselves relive that transition. And for that reason, we're contrasting these contradictory items that are in the Seder.